She said she's magical, mystical, a powerful wonder girl.
Well, we've got Valentine's Day on the brain, and joining us now with 5 tips to freshen your Valentine's Day breath and avoid a bad romance is the CEO of Dental X Smiles, Anita Denny. Welcome back to What She Said, Anita.
Thank you for having me.
There is nothing worse than getting a whiff of bad breath when you're leaning in for a smooch. So let's start with tip number 1, using a proper brushing technique. What are we doing wrong?
I think brushing is the one thing that everybody learns first, and for years probably they don't do it right. So we usually say probably you have to brush a proper way. It doesn't matter if you are using an electric toothbrush or a manual toothbrush, but it's important to brush the proper way. And the proper way is not back and forth like it used to be, that people or dental professionals used to say the harder you brush, the better it is. Now is actually you have to brush away from the gum, and that's the most important
Always.
part
So you
of the
don't go up
brushing.
and down either.
You go
Down.
up. You go down for the top and up for the bottom.
Ah, I see. And my dentist told me I was using like a round head electric toothbrush, and she said, I think you're pressing too hard. You don't need to press at all with an electric
With the
one."
electric, and it's very true. And most of the electric toothbrushes have sensors, so if you're actually pressing too hard, it will let you know. It
Oh,
will
mine must
vibrate.
be old because it doesn't
Mine
have a
too,
fancy
yeah,
sensor.
yeah.
Because they do have sensors.
Oh, okay.
So one of the important tips is also to floss.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this is one of the tips that probably nobody likes,
No,
because
I know.
flossing,
I'm a bad flosser. I admit it.
and you are one of the probably one of the most common patient that we see, because flossing is not one thing that people like. And what you have, like what people need to know is that by brushing, you are actually probably cleaning about 60 to 70% of the areas of the mouth, and you are missing that 20 or 30%,
Which flossing would get.
which flossing will cover.
Okay, answer this. Are you meant to floss before you brush or after you brush?
By the book, you have to floss before. So when you brush that toothpaste and the fluoride that is in the toothpaste, it gets in those areas. But most of the people brush and then they floss. I usually say, you know what? If you're going to floss before or after, or you're not going to floss, I would take whatever you want, before or after. But, right. By the book is actually before.
Before. Okay.
Yeah, well, we have a very good show friend, and she's all about flossing.
Yep, she sure is. What about a dry mouth? When people have been, if they've got a cold like I do, and you're mouth breathing a lot, I got the feeling that must be doing damage to you.
The dry mouth, it does causes a lot of damage because it makes all the stuff sit there, and they smell and they can cause cavities. That's why when you have babies, usually they don't have bad breath because they have a lot of saliva. But as we grow older and people have medical conditions, they take a lot of medications, that's when you see a lot of dry mouth, and that's when all the bad stuff is happening. So probably, the good things to do is to drink a lot of water during the day, to use sugarless gum for a short period of time, or maybe sugarless candies, and all this kind of stuff so you can produce a lot of saliva.
What about mouth rinses? Because I think people just automatically think, oh, bad breath, take a swig.
I'm not a big fan of mouth rinses.
Really?
Nothing against anybody. I'm not a big fan. Is because the mouth rinse is just going to give you a very short time that you're not going to have bad breath, and it's just going to come back. And also when you have, let's say, gingivitis, or if you have dry mouth, especially those mouth rinses that contain a lot of alcohol, they will dry your mouth even more. So that's not going to cause good things instead of... so I'm not a big fan. Usually what I say, something that you can use is, I call it a grandma's recipes. Just a little bit of warm salt water before or after when you brush. It's usually a good idea. And salt actually kills everything.
It's really good. How often should you replace your toothbrush?
The toothbrush should be replaced every 3 to 4 months, or if you are sick, or if there is, if you see that the toothbrush doesn't look the same as it looked when you got it, and it's, not the bristles are not in the position that you actually remember it was in the beginning, it's good to replace it. But otherwise, it can be replaced every 3 to 4 months.
Now, you have down here on your list, choose your foods wisely. You spoke about
Yes.
the candies and sticky gums and caramels. But is there anything else we should be watching out, like acidic foods, that kind of thing?
Acidic food is not very good for your teeth, like lemons or citric fruits. But to choose the food wisely, it's not so much those kind of things. We mean like food that has like garlic or onions, this kind of food that it's gonna smell. It's usually a good idea to take it or eat it probably for dinner if, let's say, you're not going anywhere and you're staying at home.
Okay, so I hope everyone wrote that down. But if they didn't, where can people go to learn more?
They can go to my website, and this www.dentalx.ca.
dentalx.ca.
The home of the tooth fairy.
That's right.
Yes.
It is too.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This is What She Said on 105.9 The Region. Do stay with us.
What she said.